like to open up with just a few thank yous. First, to thank Kilat Yedidya for offering this wonderful space, for us to have this ceremony, and for the technical help that was needed to set it up and to arrange it. I'd like to thank Becky Bierman for, where's Becky? She took upon herself a major part of the organization of tonight in terms of arranging the kibbutz, which we'll have afterwards. I'd like to thank Becky for that. Torah Mitzion Kollel is always very supportive in all the things that, all the undertakings that we've done. I'd like to thank my kids, Eliyahu Yehuda and Amichai, for playing, and then play something at the end as well. And Batya Jacobs for MC, and my wife Batya for the music, for organizing the music, and for everything else. So thank you all. I'd like to acknowledge Aviva Zornberg for coming. Thank you for being an inspiration for many, many years. And part of this certainly belongs to you from over the years. The parsha of the Miraglim is something which is really made to order, I think, for an occasion like this. The simple pshat in the Chet of the Miraglim is that they don't have faith in God, in God's power. On a different level, people like attributing quote-unquote Haredi-like ideology to the Miraglim, not wanting to come to Eretz Yisrael and preferring the insular existence of the Midbar, as opposed to entering into the challenges of history. But I think if we look at the Miraglim and what conditioned the way they view the world, the one word that I would think of is fear. The Miraglim were afraid. They were afraid of leaving what they knew, leaving a secure environment after leaving Egypt, leaving a secure environment in the desert, despite the fact that, of course, the desert has its challenges. But at least they were challenges which were known. And they were afraid to leave the desert. And it doesn't mean that there weren't things to be afraid of. You know, the thing that they say, that just because you're paranoid, it doesn't mean they're not out to get you. So just because you're free, if I say you shouldn't be afraid, it doesn't mean there really aren't things to be afraid of. There's Amalek, and there's the cruelty of Amalek, which awaits. There's Canaan and the lewdness that Canaan represents. So these are real fears. But the thing that we have to remember, and the thing that I think the Miraglim were guilty of, is that they let the fear condition the way they viewed the world. And there's a terrible price that people pay when fear conditions them. And I think that what the faith that they had to have is not necessarily the faith that God could do it. But the Reb Tzadok Komi Lublin says that if a person lacks faith in themselves, that's a sort of kfirah. That's a lack of faith in God also. Because it means you don't have faith in God, who put the challenges in front of you, that you should meet them in an energetic and faithful way. So the faith that the Miraglim lacked and the fear that they had was what conditioned them. But staying in the desert is not an option. It was never an option. And it's not an option for Bnei Israel, and it's not an option for us. And the price that people pay for fear is a certain type of paralysis. And a lot of people feel that there's a tension between what they believe very strongly to be right, on the one hand, and their very strong desire to live within the Torah tradition. And the one thing that saved Yehoshua was the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu related to him personally before he sent him on his way. And it was the personal relationship between Moshe and Yehoshua that saved Yehoshua. In a sense here, even though this isn't really about women getting semikha. It's about people getting semikha, and the goal here is to model being past it. Not naive. I don't think that most people think we're past it, but I would want people to look at the future and say the future is here, and it shouldn't be an issue. And for us, it's really not an issue. So on the one hand, what we have here is the future, but on one hand, it's sort of back to the future, because going back to semikha to the way it was before it became a profession, right, it was based on mentoring and personal relationships. And I think that's what we've, Baruch Hashem, managed to develop over the last 2 years. The personal relationships that we developed here and the mentoring that we've developed. And it goes both ways. And I'm very thankful for that to my students. I'd like to, at this point, introduce Rabbi Sperber. Rabbi Sperber and I together, he's co-signing the semikha, and in addition to the test that I gave the students, Rabbi Sperber also tested them. And so I would like to introduce him. Rabbi Sperber is the president of the Institute of Advanced Torah Studies at Bar-Ilan University. He's a Chatan, Pras Yisrael. I'm not going to go through a whole list of publications because Shabbos is in a few days. So Rabbi Sperber and I will be granting the semikha to our students.